Hello, welcome back to my new video. In this video I'm going to continue the build of my slash after I crashed it. If you want to see what I've done so far to the slash, I recommend checking out my previous video. For now I'm going to continue with the front suspension. I've mounted the shocks already. I'm gonna lubricate the differential. Then I'm gonna put the slash back together and see what the ride height is, and then make some adjustments to the chassis plate. So without further ado, let's start rebuilding. Because I have this aluminium chassis plate, which helps with the aerodynamics of the car, it does come with a downside. By completely covering the bottom of the car, maintenance is a bit more work. If I want to work, for example, on the bell crank mechanism, I have to take the whole chassis plate off because I cannot reach it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some adjustments to the chassis plate, make some cutouts so that I can leave the chassis plate on while working on the bell crank or while working on the diffs in the front or the rear. So I'm going to put the slash back together and then make the measurements for the adjustments of the chassis plate, then redesign the chassis plate. Also make the cutouts for the wheels in the front and in the rear smaller. Prepare it for my 3D prints so I can make mounting holes for the wheel arches in the front and in the rear. And I am also going to adjust the front bumper because I don't need it. It doesn't have any function on the car other than holding the bulkhead and the pins for the arms together. So just like the rear bumper, I'm going to cut the front bumper, trim it down and then mount it back. Then in the bulkhead here you can see the cutout in which the front bumper is mounted to. So let me zoom in a little bit. As you can see, it is not a straight line. So when I make an aluminium bracket, it is not going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this notch right here so I can put a straight aluminium plate in there and then connect that to the chassis plate, thus eliminating the entire front bumper. I did use the body posts, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to place them back. But for now, I'm going to mount the chassis back to the plate, cut the bumper and then measure the new aluminium brace. So while the grease on the differential is evaporating, well, not the grease but the chemicals inside the grease that make it thin so you can use it as a spray. While those are evaporating, I'm going to change the screws in the body posts, because the body posts are a bit crooked due to the crash. And then after I change the body posts, I'm going to reassemble the rear to the chassis, then mount the front differential back into the housing, and then finish assembling the complete slash. So why do I need to put this back? This piece of the front bumper holds down the pins for the arms, and if I don't mount this, the pins can fly out. So this is actually the first time, since I took the slash apart obviously, that I can check the suspension. The travel space really limited, which was the point. For a lower ride height, you don't have a lot of room to compress before touching the ground. The front is really stiff, stiffer as before, and the rear is also stiff, but not as stiff as the front. I'm going to add some more pre-spring here. Let me just get that. I'm gonna replace the thin ring with a thick one. So now the rear is a little bit stiffer than the front. So I'm gonna leave it as it is. And when I'm going to drive, I'm going to check if this is the setup that I want. So let's mount the chassis plate, and then I'm going to draw where the adjustments to the chassis plate needs to be done. These are the holes for the front bumper, so I can detach it while the chassis plate is still on, so I can work on the front differential. So my workbench is not flat. So I've put the slash on a flat table. And as you can see, the ride height is pretty damn low. I mean, I cannot put my finger under there. So it is pretty low. And it is flat. The rear is as high as the front, but I don't think the car is going to fly off again. It is going to scrape on the ground way before there's even a possibility of doing a wheelie, as is my assumption looking at the car as it is now. I think it's time for a test drive. Yeah, I'm gonna fit the body on it, see if the body posts are aligned correctly, and then do a little test drive. If you ask me, it looks a bit more aggressive now that it is lowered, and I like it. I'm gonna still have to figure out a way what to do with the front body posts that were on. The wing is trimmed down. Yeah, let's go for a test drive. So here we are at the usual spot for speedruns. Now let's drive up and down the road, see if there's any debris, and if not, then it's time for some speedruns. Watch out, bird. Well, the street seems to be clear.
Theoretisch gezien loopt hij 170 met de vertanding die er nu in zit. Alleen dat wil niet zeggen dat het praktisch gezien ook haalbaar is.
Ja, met de wind, hè?
Je hebt inderdaad,
Hij komt nu behoorlijk vandaan.
klopt, dus ik ga van die kant van deze kant op rijden. Ik ga niet tegen de wind
Nee.
in een scooter. Wat ik de vorige keer wel deed.
Er nu in.
Er zit een Castle motor zit daarin, 1600 kilovol of 1600 kV op 6S. Dus diameter is die net zo groot als een 2200 kV motor. Hij draait ook 60.000 toeren maximaal, alleen hij is een paar centimeter langer en heeft gewoon meer koppel, waardoor dat je met een grotere pinion kunt rijden.
Ja.
Nou is die ook mooi dicht. Zit in de voorkant even goed stevig, desondanks dat die bodyposts er niet op zitten. Maar ik wilde het uiteindelijk gaan vervangen door 3D prints. Dat dan makkelijker is en betrouwbaarder. Want het kan goed zijn dat het zo meteen eventjes met de neus over de grond heen schaapt dat het eraf ligt. Dus, hij ligt inderdaad een stuk strakker.
Ja, hè?
Ja. Nou, hij staat nou ongeveer 200 meter ver weg. 250. Ja, als je dan kijkt naar de hectometerpaaltjes. Ja, dat meen ik wel. Ik had mijn vinger niet helemaal naar beneden. Dat was almost full throttle. But I heard it scraping. So let's see what's up. Hij was wel een beetje aan het schaven. Dat kun je ook zien aan de teken. Maar dat maakt niet uit.
Lijkt het als je kijkt veel stabieler.
Hij klinkt erg mooi. Hij zoeft zo heerlijk voorbij. There also seems to be a little bit more traffic today, more than usual. But luckily everybody is really happy because almost everybody is just waving at me once they see what I'm doing, which is fun. Let's just wait for this car to pass and it's time for another run. Also, I am not going to make the same mistake as I did in my previous video, because when the slash took off, I was driving directly into the wind, but now the wind is coming from that side, going over there, and it is blowing parallel to the road, so I have almost zero crosswinds, and I'm driving out of the wind, so and that helps with lowering the drag on the car. And I mean, it's just dead on. It goes straight. Let's wait for that. There's another car coming. Let's wait for that also. Now I just have to wait so that they have exited this road, and then I can start my run. I'm good to go. Wow. I really love this car. It's amazing. Let's see what the temperature says. So the motor temperature is around 60 degrees, measured with Traxxas temperature sensor, which is connected to the receiver, which means that after a few runs the motor is still not hot. So if I want, I can upgrade to a bigger pinion or a smaller spur, because the motor can handle it. It can go even faster. I don't even know how fast it is currently going, because I haven't checked the GPS yet. Here we go. Show you what's in there. motors in here. 2 batteries, 6S total. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 batteries in series. Connected to my Toro ESC, which is connected to my Castle Creations 1600 kV motor. And now for the GPS. Activities in progress. 147 kilometers per hour, which is a new personal best. Oh wow, that's amazing. The motor is warm. Batteries are warm. I am using 2 bashing batteries from Gense's 5000 milliamps 50C, and I don't have a cap pack connected or anything. Wow, 147 kilometers per hour with the slash, and I'm not even done building yet. I bet we can hit 160 kilometers per hour with this car, with the same electronics. Maybe put a cap pack in there, so there's no voltage drop when it's running high on amps. And I'm still gonna have to work on the wheel arches, my 3D prints in the front, the splitter, the diffuser in the rear. I bet we can make it go 160 kilometers per hour with this setup. Yeah, we definitely can. So today was a good day. I've hit a new personal best. I drove the Slash 147 kilometers per hour, or to be more precise, 146.9, and I'm really happy about the adjustments that I made, even though I am not finished tuning the car. I'm really happy about the suspension, about the stiffness, and how low the car is set, the ride height. I'm really happy about the wing that is trimmed down and about the stiffness in the rear. When going full throttle, the rear is not squatting down anymore and I'm not driving at an angle. The rear is leveled with the front. It was a good thing that I used duct tape to seal off the front and to close the gaps in the chassis plate where the wheels are, but this is a temporary solution. I'm still going to make the 3D prints for the suspension and how low the car is sitting on the road. It is not scraping or touching the ground while driving. The only thing is that when applying the brakes, the front tends to scrape on the ground. That can be one of 2 reasons. First reason is that the front is bent and banged up due to the crash, as seen in my previous video. Yeah, and applying the brakes makes it tilt over a little bit. I am really happy about the suspension, how it is adjusted, and I'm going to keep it like it is. What you guys didn't see on camera
is that the rear suspension was pretty low, and what I did was I moved the shocks in the rear from the inner mounting hole to the outer mounting hole, and that makes the car sit a little bit higher, just a few millimeters, so that it is angled towards the front. I've noticed after the speed run that there's a little bit of play in the wheels, but there's also a little bit of play in the steering mechanism, or in the bell crank or servo saver, however you want to call it. So maybe it is worn down because of the high speeds and the vibrations in the car. So I'm going to check that. The diffs still feel great, so no worries there. Also, the new grease that I used is, as I presume, still on the differentials, because it is not making any noise while driving. Well, it is making a lot of noise, but no noise coming from the differentials. So the new grease that I am using is great. So now that I have tested the new setup, the suspension, the ride height, now I can work on the chassis plate, redesign it, make the cutouts for the wheels smaller, make some preparations for the wheel arches, the front splitter, the rear diffuser, the air ducts, the holes inside the chassis plate, so I can reach down in the bell crank mechanism. My goal is to reach 160 kilometers per hour with the Slash, with the current electronics. So 13 more kilometers per hour to go. I did 5-6 runs before I checked the temperature, which was at the moment 60-65 degrees. So the electronics are capable of more. If I am done tuning out the car, then I'm going to play with the gearing. Bigger pinion, smaller spur gear. So this is it for today's video. If you like my videos, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to it, or to my channel. You won't miss out on any new content, and I'll be going forward with the Slash. I'm not done yet with this small bad boy. For now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.